Patreon.com/the Walk-Off Podcast. $4 a month gets you in there.
If you're watching this right now and you haven't hit the like button, Billy, get on it. Bug your brother. Tell him to do the same. Yesterday's victory, 4-1, putting the Blue Jays at 2-3 on the season. It was the battle of the fifth starting lefties for the Kansas City Royals and Toronto Blue Jays. Yusei Kikuchi versus Bubek. And it was a very encouraging game.
Yep.
They didn't blow the door down, and I don't think we can, give the signal that offense has been found. However, we did see a little bit of power. We did see the Blue Jays not buckle when things got tough. A lot of positives to take out of yesterday's start, and it was needed.
Yeah.
Like, again, we touched off the very, very top that there is really no point in any baseball season at the 5-game mark where you can actually say this is a must win. That's a ridiculous way to look at a 162 game season. However, it sure felt like it.
Yeah, the fan in me sure felt that way for sure.
The fan and everyone just was like, please, can we just stop the bleeding that is the starting pitching? And that's what Yusei did last night. And I mean, here's
why it feels must win is because the Rays are 5-0. So just to start the season 1-4, and just to already feel like the Rays are running away with it and not able to beat the Royals. Yeah, sure felt like yesterday could have really set a negative tone for the rest of the week, but.
And losing 9-4 to the Royals is a tough one to swallow.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you're putting in a pitcher who had some real serious woes last year in Jose Barrios. And as a fan base, we're all just like, please, baseball gods above, let him find his career average, please. And then that was not the case. So honestly, yesterday was a great game to watch. It was fun. The bullpen looked really good. And that was something that I did wish to touch on here. Yes, Yusei Kikuchi came out and gave us 2 strikeouts, a walk, a whip under 1, 5 innings, just under 70 pitches. He had a good pitch count there. Then John Schneider wouldn't let him go a third time through the order. Probably the right thing to do early in the season. Continue to build Yusei's confidence before we stretch him out any further than that. And then the bullpen came in and didn't allow a run for the whole time.
Yep.
Jordan Romano looked good.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Garcia looked good.
Tim Meza, 4 strikeouts, 4 batters.
Give it to me every time. Yes, it's the Kansas City Royals. And again, if you wish to be that little negative Ned or Nancy, then go right ahead. But I think that the Blue Jays needed this. I think the pitching staff needed this. I think the pitching staff, top to bottom, needed a game like this, right? Where they were relied on. This was a game for the pitching. I mean, the offense put up 4 runs, but they didn't run away with it. At no point during the game did you feel like if the Royals came back that the Blue Jays, it wasn't that type of game.
Yeah. The contrast in how I felt watching Barrios pitch versus Kikuchi pitch. Barrios gave up 3 runs in that first inning, and it just felt like, here we go again.
Yes.
It was a singles to death in the first inning, and it just felt like, is he going to get through the first inning? And to his credit, he did. I mean, he gave up a lot of runs, but he gave us innings, which we needed.
He did. Yes.
So credit where credit's due. I know it's an ugly thing, or an ugly silver lining to focus on with Jose Barrios, but
truly the worst positive we could find. But yes, it is.
That's the toxic positivity that I'm bringing to the table here on a Wednesday morning. However, to contrast that with Yusei Kikuchi, did give up the home run in the second inning. Jays were down 1-0. Could have gone the same way. It could have been
you know what? Great point,
here we
Adam.
go. And he didn't. He buckled in.
Second inning. Let's talk that second inning. Because the Franimal hit that home run that you just brought up. Then he gave up a single to Duffy. And then I don't know if everyone here remembers, it got worse than that. Remember, he then had the wild pitch. Duffy goes to second. And then there's the long fly ball that Merrifield makes that diving catch on. The runner tags and goes to third base. Now there's one out. He'd just given up a home run. He just made that mistake with the wild pitch. The single that Duffy hit, it was a seeing eye single. It just found a hole, right? Like, as Yusei Kikuchi, a guy who the spotlight is on, you could buckle there, right?
Yeah.
You could get nervous. You could maybe allow another run or two. And then he didn't, man. He gave up a shallow fly ball to left field to Dalton Varsho, who then had a rocket with his arm, nailing the runner at third for a double play. Out of the inning, he settled right in after that. This is the true silver lining. This is the true positive I take from this Yusei Kikuchi start.
Yeah, I mean, and you touched on it. Like, this is, I get goosebumps thinking about this. We watched the off season. A lot of Jays fans be frustrated with the departure of Teoscar and Lourdes and bringing in these defensive guys, right? And how, okay, well, even if we win more, it's not going to be as exciting. Like, these guys are studs in the outfield. And it is like 3 or 4 highlights defensively every game.
Yeah.
From our outfield troop. That Whit Merrifield diving catch fading back towards center field. Cool for him in Kansas City, but also it's like, that's our second baseman out there.
Exactly.
In the outfield,
Love
right?
to see it.
It's just, this is one thing that, oh man, if Yusei Kikuchi pitches himself into a jam and we have the defensive abilities to just help him out, just throw him a lifeline. Like, if that's Teoscar in right field, he's not catching that one that Whit Merrifield caught, right? Lourdes, I would say, could have done what Dalton Varsho did. Phenomenal arm on him. Credit there.
Yes.
But this is a great outfield. And if our pitchers can just not give up the long ball this year, if we can just keep it in the green, not a lot of stuff's going to be dropping in.
I agree, man. It was very encouraging, and it has been all season watching the outfield. The outfield really has been the big positive in a 2 and 3 season so far. To go back to the Kikuchi start, I just love seeing the man have a plan and executing, which is something that he's done really well so far this spring in that first game of the year. He's got 4 pitches in his fastball, slider, curveball, and change. The curveball is somewhat new. He is using it regularly. The fastball, and this is what's really interesting to me, because I always really believed Yusei Kikuchi's biggest problem was that he was shying away from his fastball. They could not convince him that it was the weapon that it is, which is 98 miles with movement from the left-hand side. But this is what I kind of respect out of Pete Walker and this front office, is that they were like, okay, Yusei Kikuchi, 31 years old, turning 32 in the next couple months. At no point in his pitching career has shown a willingness to lean on his fastball as that major pitch. So let's back him off of it. Let's make him feel comfortable. Yusei Kikuchi is throwing the fastball at a 37% rate, which is the lowest rate amongst starting pitchers in baseball.
These stats really popped my eyes out. Before the game, they brought up the usage rate of his fastball last season, 51%, and then they compared it to
51.
Spring training this year, was 39%. And you just mentioned it's even lower now in his first outing. I mean, I don't track on a day-to-day basis what's a pitch use for each pitcher. I just knew Kikuchi was looking good in spring training, and my dumb monkey brain was like, he must finally be using his fastball more.
Me
so when
too.
I saw that stat on the broadcast, I was like, oh, I thought he wasn't using his fastball enough. Turns out he was using it too much.
It reminded me of the talk we had with the mental performance department, the head of the mental performance department, Robert DiBernardo. And basically his whole mantra is to get to the crux of the player and what makes them confident. And again, like you and I were just talking, right? Because we do see such potential and what a weapon that high 90s fastball with movement from the left-hand side is. But again, he just never truly believed in it like everyone else did. And watching him see some success going to what makes him comfortable on the mound, and this pitch clock scenario where he doesn't have a choice, right? Jano's there. He's like, this is what you're throwing. And Kikuchi's just like, all right, let's do it.
Well, another stat that kind of popped up, again, spring training, I get it, but they also popped up like across MLB spring training. He was first in ERA. He was first or second in like 4 or 5 categories.
In every category.
And it was the whiff rate. He was first in MLB in whiff rate. So swinging strikes. And again, spring training, I get it. But if this is
pretty encouraging for a pitcher who last year's biggest Achilles heel was getting hit and getting hit hard.
Right?
Right?
Yeah. So, man, I hope this is sustainable. I mean, we'll see. I mean, it's going to take more than one real major league regular season start to get me to buy that Yusei Kikuchi jersey. But this is absolutely showing some signs of life. So we'll take it.
You couldn't draw it up any better as to how to ease him into the season as well. You know, like let him have a spring training where it builds his confidence and he looks good. Let him start the first major league regular season game he pitches against the Kansas City Royals. Let's ease him into this. But and I know that there are caveats, little asterisks on these, with it being spring, with it being the Royals.
Look, this is a high pressure start. Like we talked about Alek Manoah and the big game factor of opening day,
a lot of eyes
or
on
whatever. A lot of eyes, a lot of expectations, a lot of like, oh, what are we gonna get here today? Especially after what Barrios gave us the day before. I mean, this hopefully set the tone for, confidence is contagious, and momentum is a real thing. So hopefully he can build on it. He's got the Angels in his next start. No Anthony Rendon in that start.
I mean, we'll end on the fact that he was economical with his pitches too, which you like to see. He was under 70 pitches thrown by the 5th inning. He could have probably gone another inning or two.
And how do you feel about that? How do you feel about the decision to not push him? I loved it too. I loved it too. Because that absolutely could have been, let's send him out there for the 5th. He's got the low pitch count, and it could have been a 4-run inning, and now we're having an entirely different talk. So quit while you're ahead.
Win.
Yeah.
Great move by John Schneider and Pete Walker to just kind of be like, listen, he got through 5. He's going to get the W. He had an incredible game with 68 pitches. He didn't walk almost anybody. He gave up almost no hits. Like, again, he had a 0.8 whip by the end of that game yesterday. I mean, you can't ask for more than that out of your starting pitchers. So great job by
if our
coach and manager.
If our number 5 pitcher, again, and I'll just end on this too, is if our number 5 pitcher can give us 30 starts and he's pitching into the 5th, that's 150 innings, which, is not 200, but for your number 5 guy, you'll take that. If we get 150 innings out of him and we're not pulling our hair out for each of them, that's a win.
Again, and we've mentioned this, if he can pitch to a 4.5 ERA and give us 140 to 150 innings, that's very close to probably the best 5th starter in baseball. So I would take it.
Definitely.